pre-season guide. So, of course, the Euros are on right now, but club football is still, of course, going on in the background, and it's going to be starting up very, very soon, with a lot of clubs starting pre-season in a few weeks' time. So I thought, you might not have been able to keep up with what your club's doing for pre-season yet, of course, with your focus on the Euros. So this is the guide for you. So I'm going to tell you who exactly your team is playing. Every Premier League club, I'm going to go through who they're playing, when they're playing, when their players will return for training, and also, rather importantly, who might be missing from pre-season at the early stages, because of course the Euros and major international tournaments are going on. Copa America, Olympics are also going on in the summer. So yeah, this is your rundown of pre-season for your club. Hopefully you guys do enjoy, and let's begin. So we begin with Arsenal. Arsenal returned to the US this summer for their pre-season tour. The club have scheduled 3 friendlies. On July 24th, they played Bournemouth in Los Angeles. On July 27th, they faced Manchester United, also in LA. And then on July the 31st, they played Liverpool at Philadelphia. As a consequence of Euro 2024, Arsenal will forego their annual trip to the Adidas HQ in Germany. Man United's victory in the FA Cup final means Arsenal will be absent from the Community Shield this year. Instead, friendlies against Bayer Leverkusen and Lyon confirmed for August the 7th and August 11th respectively. A very decent set of tests for Arsenal in pre-season, who have some very high level opposition to put them through the paces. When are they back for pre-season training? Arsenal's first team players will report back for pre-season on July the 15th. A group of players have been in Marbella for a pre-season mini-camp with focus on getting fit. Those who went to the mini-camp will have a week off before reconvening for the proper start of Arsenal's pre-season. Their under-21s are already back for their pre-season preparations. Who might be missing when they return? Arsenal have had 13 players involved at the Euros and Copa America. Players are given roughly 3 weeks off after competing in international tournaments, so returns will likely be staggered depending on how well they do with their nations. Of the 11 involved at the Euros, Alexander Zinchenko, Jakub Kiwior and Kieran Tierney were eliminated at the group stage. The full extent of Tierney's hamstring injury that he sustained during Scotland's draw with Switzerland is not yet known though, but 3 weeks should give Zinchenko and Kiwior time to join Arsenal's US tour at the end of July. Jorginho and Leandro Trossard were both eliminated in the round 16, and both also have a chance of being on the US tour. Those involved in the quarterfinal onwards, Bukayo Saka, Declan Rice, Ramsdale, Saliba, Havertz and David Raya, will be monitored individually, as will Gabriel and Gabriel Martinelli, who were part of the Brazil squad that got to the Copa America quarter-finals. Aston Villa. Villa will begin pre-season preparations at the start of July when the squad convene and return to the familiar coaching drills of Unai Emery. As is customary between the two clubs, Villa's pre-season schedule begins on July the 17th against Walsall, and they will return to the Bescot Stadium in August to play Atletico Bilbao, once they arrive back in England after a 3-match tour of the US. Before that tour, Emery's side will also have a short stopover in Slovakia to face FC Spartak Trnava. After that, they'll face Borussia Dortmund in Germany. As with last summer, Villa based themselves in Washington for the first part of the American trip, which will see them play 3 games across 3 different cities in just 6 days. The first fixture is against Columbus Crew on July 27th, quite a bit of travelling going on this summer, which isn't necessarily ideal. When they're back for pre-season training, players will filter back to Bournemouth Heath in the coming weeks, with a significant chunk of the first team squad returning on July the 8th. Who will be missing during the early stages of pre-season? Aston Villa have 7 players who have or are currently featuring for their countries at either Euro 2024 or Copa America. This includes key players such as Emiliano Martinez, who is with Argentina and also wished to participate in the upcoming Paris Olympics, but luckily for Villa fans was left out of the squad by head coach Javier Mascherano. Ollie Watkins is also at the Euros and John McGinn will arrive later. New signing Ian Martson will also return late, given his involvement with the Netherlands. So Villa will be missing certain key individuals at the early stages of pre-season. Bournemouth are heading stateside for their pre-season tour this summer, and thanks to their American owner Bill Foley, they'll be put up at the 5-star Hotel Californian in Santa Barbara, which Foley bought in 2021. The US tour will comprise of 2 matches, the first of which has been announced against Hollywood's favourite EFL club, Wrexham, on July the 20th, and Bournemouth's second against Arsenal in LA on July the 24th. US captain Tyler Adams is bound to be popular among American fans, as Bournemouth will make use of the training facilities of MLS team LA Galaxy while they're out there. When they return to the UK, Bournemouth will face Iraiola's old team Rayo Vallecano on August 4th, and then Girona on August the 10th at the Vitality. I'm sure Iraola probably had a large say in those 2 fixtures being arranged. When they're back for pre-season training, Bournemouth senior players are expected to report back for pre-season training in the coming days. Who will be missing during the early stages? Players that featured in tournaments this summer will likely return to Bournemouth later than others, with Ryan Christie for Scotland, Milos Kerkez Hungary, and Elias Zabanye of Ukraine all involved at Euro 2024. Luckily for Bournemouth, they all went out in the groups, so should be back for the US tour. The same goes for US midfielder Tyler Adams, whose side exited the competition in the group stages, while Luis Sinisterra is still involved at the Copa America with Colombia and will return later. Brentford. Thomas Frank's side participated in the Premier League Summer Series last year, and everybody involved described it as a positive experience that they would be keen to repeat. However, the event is not taking place in 2024, which means Brentford have opted for a pre-season training camp in Lisbon in July, during which they'll face Portuguese giants Benfica and then local side Estrela da Amadora. They have also announced the fixtures against Watford at Vicarage Road on August 3rd and will then host German side Wolfsburg on August the 9th. When are they back for pre-season training? Brentford's first team squad returned to training quite early on June the 26th. They'll spend the next couple of weeks being put through the paces before receiving a few extra days of holiday ahead of their pre-season tour to Lisbon. It is only a small group of players who have reported back though, including Keane Lewis Potter, Rico Henry and Aaron Hickey. Henry and Hickey missed the majority of last season through injury, and they are using this time to reach full fitness for Crystal Palace's visit on the opening weekend. Who will be missing during the early stages of pre-season? Denmark's defeat to Germany means there are only 2 remaining Brentford players at the Euros. Ivan Toney and Mark Flecken remain, but neither are playing massive roles for the nation, with Flecken yet to feature for the Netherlands. Ethan Bennett can enjoy some time off after Jamaica were grouped at the Copa America. Club record signing Igor Thiago officially joined on July the 1st, but will spend the next week settling into life in London. The 23-year-old has recovered from a knee his new teammates. Brighton are swapping west for east after taking part in the summer series last summer. This time around they are focusing on the popularity of winger Gary Mitoma in his homeland with a pre-season trip to Japan. They played twice at Tokyo's National Stadium against J1 League sides Kashima Antlers on July the 24th and Tokyo Verdy on July the 28th. Mitoma, who's been ruled out since February due to an injury, is expected to play a part. The visit to Japan is followed by a friendly away to Championship side Queen's Park Rangers at Loftus Road on August 3rd. That leaves scope for a home game the following weekend, in what has become a traditional curtain raiser for the new season against European opponents who have yet to be named. When are they back for pre-season training? The players report back on Monday the 8th for their first taste of life under new head coach Fabian Hürzeler, but it will be a long way away from a full squad. So who will be missing? There will be staggered returns for 9 players involved in the Euros and Copa America. Hürzeler starts off without Lewis Dunk, Pascal Gross, Dennis Undav, Bart Verbruggen, Billy Gilmore, Jakob Moder, Jeremy Sarmiento, Julia Enciso and Tom McGill. Others are likely to be confined to the treatment room or gym as they recover from injuries, notably Karim Mitoma, Solly March, Purvis Estupinan and Evan Ferguson. It's going to be a tough few weeks for the new manager who has limited players to get his ideas across. Chelsea. Enzo Maresca started with his players for the first time when those not involved in the internationals over the summer reported back on July the 4th. As things stand, no other friendlies have been arranged other than those on the club's pre-season tour to the US. Chelsea had been in talks with League Two side Wimbledon over playing a match before setting across the Atlantic, although nothing has been confirmed as of yet. Chelsea are going to play 5 games in the space of 14 days in America, covering over 13,000 miles on their trip. Maresca's side have games against Wrexham, Celtic and Club America to build some momentum before the much tougher tests of Manchester City and Real Madrid. They also face Italian champions Inter on August the 11th, which will be Maresca's first game in charge at Stamford Bridge. It's a tough pre-season for Maresca, who is being prepped for the challenges that come with managing Chelsea early on. When are they back for pre-season training? The first team squad reconvened on July the 4th, but were far below full strength and only did light gym work under Maresca. Who will be missing during the early stages? Cole Palmer, Conor Gallagher, Mark Gorilla, Mikhailo Mudryk and Jordi Petrovic will all miss the start of pre-season as they take a break after representing their nations at Euro 2024, while Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo will also be late joining up their squads after the Copa America. Depending on how far they all go, several of the above names may not be back in time to travel with the rest of the Chelsea squad to the United States for their first game of pre-season tour against Wrexham. Leslie Ukachukwu will miss the entirety of Chelsea's trip to North America after the club gave permission for him to represent France in the 2024 Olympic football tournament, which runs from July the 24th to August the 9th. Crystal Palace. Palace will return to the US this summer, participating in a mini tour alongside Wolves and West Ham. They will play Wolves on July the 31st at the Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium, the stadium their former sister team Crystal Palace Baltimore called home. They then face West Ham on Saturday, August the 3rd, before returning to the UK, taking on Nantes at Selhurst Park. When are they back for pre-season? Palace's players returned to training on July the 2nd, but without many players. So who will be missing? Palace will be without most of their key players for the start of pre-season training. Star striker striker Jean-Philippe Mateta is in France's preliminary Olympic Games squad, so will likely miss most of pre-season if he is called up to the official squad. Chris Richards, Jefferson Lerma and Daniel Munoz are competing at Copa America, while Dean Henderson, Mark Gay, Adam Morton and Eberici Eze are in Germany with the England team. Joachim Andersen's Denmark were knocked out of the competition, but the centre-back will not be involved in pre-season training immediately. Jordan Ayew, meanwhile, has spent time with Ghana this summer and may also be given further leave before returning. It's not the most ideal scenario for Glasner, who would have liked this time to work on tactics with his new team. Everton. After trips to the US and France in recent years, Everton are staying closer to home this summer. The club have announced 4 fixtures with away trips to Sligo Rovers, Salford City, Coventry and Preston penciled in. Before that, manager Sean Dyche and his players will head for a training camp, with more fixtures expected to be announced in due course. They are expected to be tougher tests for the team than those more relatively straightforward warm-up games. When are they back? Dyche and the squad are due to return to Finch Farm for training on July the 8th with most of their squad. Who will be missing? Those involved in this summer's Euros, like England goalkeeper Jordan Pickford, Belgian midfielder Amadou Onana and Ukrainian Vitaly Mykolenko, are likely to be given some time off to recuperate. Mykolenko limped out of Ukraine's final game and will also need to be assessed after a series of ankle problems towards the end of the season. Right back, Nathan Patterson, meanwhile, is recovering well from hamstring surgery and is expected to return to full training at some point in July, ready for pre-season. Fulham. In a repeat of last year, Fulham will face Hoffenheim to round off their pre-season preparations. Summer signings Raul Jimenez and Bassi scored to give them a 2-1 lead last time in Craven Cottage, but this time Fulham will travel to Germany. The game will take place on August the 10th, a week before the Premier League kicks off again. Unlike previous seasons, Fulham are leaving it late to announce their plans for the first half of the summer. 12 months ago they travelled to the US for the Premier League Summer Series, and the year before, a trip to Portugal. They are expected to travel to Portugal again for a pre-season camp, but that is not confirmed. When are they back? The majority of Fulham's squad will be returning in stages for pre-season testing and then training in the next 2 weeks. It will be a staggered return with some players still on international duty and requiring further time off. So who will be missing? Those who are still involved in competition will be the last to return. They include Andreas Pereira with Brazil, Luke de Forjuelas with Canada and João Bellinha with Portugal, although he is expected to leave for Bayern Munich. Timothy Castagna for Belgium, Bobby Reed for Jamaica, Tim Ream and Anthony Robertson for the US have been eliminated from their tournaments but will likely be given a break before returning. Ream is also in talks with Charlotte FC regarding a transfer, while Dagordova Reed is technically out of contract, although has an offer on the table from Fulham. Sasa Lukic was on duty with Serbia, who eliminated in the group stages, and also may get a slightly extended break. Ipswich Town. It's all change at Ipswich this summer as the club prepares for a first season in the Prem in 22 years, but they will welcome a familiar opponent to Portman Road in pre-season. Ipswich host Fortuna Dusseldorf on July the 27th, having formed a long-standing friendship with the second-tier German side over the past 18 years. What began as an innocuous trip to Ipswich in 2006 by the former Fortuna Stadium announcer has blossomed into an annual Portman Road pilgrimage for a large group of Fortuna fans, with Ipswich supporters frequently making a return trip to Germany. Just as they did last summer, Kieran McKenna's side will also head to Austria in pre-season. There, they will play 2 one-hour friendlies against Shakhtar Donetsk on the same day, which is a bit odd, but anyways. When a day back for pre-season, Ipswich returned to pre-season training on Monday, July the 1st. Who might be missing? Vaclav Huldaki is the big miss. The 33-year-old became Ipswich's first-choice goalkeeper last season. Following an injury to regular number 1, he seized his opportunity and was crucial to Ipswich's promotion, earning praise for his ability with the ball at his feet. However, the club failed to agree new terms and his departure as a free agent was confirmed at the start of the month. Caden Jackson and Dominic Ball have also exited, Sonny Aluka has retired, and Kiefer Moore, Jeremy Sarmiento and Lewis Travis have been returning to their parent clubs after their loans. They don't have anybody on international duty though, but will have not too many numbers at pre-season due to those departures. Leicester City. The departure of Enzo Maresca to Chelsea has put plans for pre-season on hold as Leicester focused on bringing in a new manager first. The aim this summer was to take advantage of a longer break, allowing more time to work on Maresca's tactical approach. After an initial week of testing and fitness, the players will head to a European training camp and then play a selection of friendlies, some abroad and some against lower league sides away from home. Traditionally, they finish with a home friendly, although nothing is confirmed as of yet. When are they back? The majority of the Leicester players will meet new manager Steve Cooper for the first time on July the 8th, when they return for pre-season training. Who will be missing? The Leicester players who have been at the Euros will be given additional time off. Denmark's Mats Hermansen, Victor Christiansen and Yannick Vestergaard, plus Belgium's Wout Weiss, are expected to miss the first 2 weeks of pre-season training. They will most likely join their clubmates during a training camp near Lake Genève, where they will play 2 training games against sides also training in the area, reported to be France's FC Annecy and Caen. Liverpool. Liverpool will embark on a pre-season tour of America for the first time since 2019 this month. The 3 matches in the US are the only friendlies confirmed, as the new era begins with Arne Slot. The tour will kick off against Spanish side Real Betis at Pittsburgh on July the 26th. Then Liverpool will fly to Philadelphia to take on Arsenal. The final date of the tour is a match with Man United in Columbia, South Carolina on August 3rd. After the tour, they also host Sevilla at Anfield. It's a very tough pre-season for Arne Slot, who will have 3 battles early on in his reign. When are they back? Those players not on international duty will report back to Kirkby for the start of pre-season testing in early July, with the senior squad most likely joining from 5th of July onwards as new head coach Slot gets down to work. Who will be missing? Liverpool still have a host of star names away on international duty at the Euros and Copa America, such as Darwin Núñez, Cody Gakpo and Alisson. Luis Diaz is also competing with Colombia, Scotland's Andy Robson and Hungary's Dominic Szoboszlai, who didn't make it beyond the group stages, won't report back until later this month as they enjoy some time off. But those key individuals, such as Van Dijk, Luis Diaz and Alisson, will not be back until later and may miss the first game of pre-season. Manchester City. After visiting South Korea and Japan last year, Manchester City are stateside once again this summer for a 4-game tour as part of pre-season competition FC Series. City, the winners of 4 consecutive Premier League titles, begin by facing Celtic, the winners of 3 consecutive Scottish Premier League titles, on July the 23rd in North Carolina. City then play AC Milan in New York 4 days later. The standout fixture will see Pep Guardiola come up against his former employers Barcelona in Orlando on July the 30th, before City round off their trip against Chelsea in Ohio on August 3rd. The team they will face on the opening day of the Premier League. A date has also been set for the Community Shield against Manchester United, which will take place at Wembley on August the 10th. When are they back for pre-season? The Premier League champions will return to training the week commencing July the 15th before travelling out for their tour of the United States on July the 19th. Who will be missing? City had more players reach the Euro knockout stages than any other top-flight club, with 11 making it out the group stages. Manuel Akanji, Bernardo Silva, Joao Cancelo, Kevin De Bruyne and Jeremy Doku have joined Mateo Kovacic and Josko Gvardiol in being eliminated, but there still remains a large number of Man City players still in competition. Also at the Copa America, Julian Alvarez and Yan Guto are engaged with Brazil and Argentina. Manchester United. United's pre-season schedule follows a similar pattern to last summer, with a game in Norway, a game in Scotland, then a tour of the States. First up is a trip to Tottenham to play Rosenborg on July the 15th, before a return to Edinburgh to face Rangers 5 days later. United will fly out to Los Angeles, where they will face Arsenal on July the 27th, before making the trip to take on Real Betis in San Diego. Having started on the west coast, the tour rounds off on the east. Liverpool away in South Carolina on August 3rd. As mentioned, they also face Man City in the Community Shield on August the 10th. When are they back? United's players will begin to report back to Carrington next Monday, July the 8th, ahead of their pre-season friendly against Rosenborg a week later. Who will be missing? 11 United players were called up for either Euro 2024 or Copa America, plus Tom Eden, who is with the England squad as a training goalkeeper. Of those, only Portugal's Diego Dalot, Scotland's Scott McTominay and Denmark's Rasmus Højlund and Christian Eriksen are no longer involved. There will be intrigue over whether Tyrone Malacia is back in full training after missing the entirety of last season with injury, while Willy Kambwala was also sidelined. The future of players including Jadon Sancho and Mason Greenwood are yet to be decided, so they may also not feature in pre-season training. Newcastle's pre-season schedule is looking pretty light at the moment, but that is because they have only confirmed their tour of Japan so far. That will take place at the end of July with matches against the Urawa Red Diamonds and Yokohama Maroons in and around Tokyo. Before that, however, Newcastle are expected to head to Germany to Adidas's state-of-the-art headquarters for a training camp. There will also likely be some domestic friendlies in July, as well as the Cellar Cup at St James's Park on August the 9th and 10th, while Eddie Howe is also looking to arrange some behind closed doors matches. That is something Howe tends to do anyway during pre-season, but the need to get game time in Sandro Tonali's legs, given his 10-month ban, ends on August the 29th and cannot feature in pre-season games in front of crowds, makes that issue more pressing. When are they back? The squad is due to filter back in different groups for testing from around July the 12th. Who will be missing? With Kieran Trippier and Anthony Gordon still at the Euros, they are unlikely to be back for the first day. Martin Dubravka might not be either, despite Slovakia's last 16 exit, and the same can be said for Fabian Schär. The same is true for Miguel Almiron, who was eliminated from the Copa America, and also Bruno Guimaraes with Brazil. Sven Botman and Jamal Lascelles' respective ACL injuries will also rule them out, but the rest of the squad should be fully fit. Nottingham Forest. In a replica of last season's preparations, Forest will return to Spain for a pre-season training camp. In Marica, they will play friendlies against Championship sides Sunderland and Millwall, before facing Elche at the same venue. Forest's B team are also playing 3 matches at the same place, where some first team players may be given minutes for sharpness. When are they back for pre-season training? The first team squad are due to return to pre-season training on Monday, the 8th and who will be missing. All players are expected to be present when Forest return, aside from two goalkeepers, Matt Sells and Matt Turner, who have been on international duty with Belgium and the US. They should join the group a week later. New signings Elliot Anderson and Eric Da Silva Moreira are expected to join the rest of the squad before Forest's pre-season fixtures, which begin against Chesterfield on July the 13th. Southampton. They have only just finished celebrating their playoff final win, but for Southampton the new season is not that far. Their 1-0 win over Leeds on May the 26th means their campaign ran longer than any of the 19 teams in the Premier League. Southampton owner Dragan Solak promised the players the party of their lives if they secured a route back to the Prem, but in the meantime, fans are awaiting official pre-season fixture announcements. Southampton's pre-season schedule kicks off in a friendly against Eastleigh on July the 19th. Russell Martin's side have plans for a week-long training camp in Spain immediately following the friendly, with two behind closed doors games against Bordeaux and Montpellier. They also have a friendly away at Millwall on August the 3rd. When are they back? The date of Southampton's return for pre-season training is yet to be announced. Who will be missing? A delayed return is expected for Jay Adams for Scotland and Jan Bednarek with Poland, who featured at Euro 2024 before exiting in the groups. Other than that, everybody else will be available. Tottenham. Ange Postecoglou's side face a trip to Scotland to face Hearts on July the 17th, followed by a London derby against QPR 3 days later. Then Tottenham, who also played Newcastle in Australia last month, will fly to Asia for a 2-week trip. Due to the international competitions, the number of first-team players who travel will probably be quite low. Spurs take on Vissel Kobe at Japan's national stadium and then move to South Korea, where they will take on K-League All-Stars side. They round off their time in South Korea with a friendly against Bayern Munich, which will reunite them with Harry Kane and Eric Dyer. The fixture will also pit Son Heung-min and Kim Min-jae, two of the biggest Korean stars, directly against each other. Spurs conclude their preparations with another clash against Bayern, but this time it will be at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, allowing their UK-based fans to show their appreciation for Kane and Eric Dyer. When are they back? Tottenham's squad are reporting for pre-season training slightly later than their rivals, but that is partially because of their friendly against Newcastle in Melbourne, which took place only 3 days after the Premier League season ended. Who will be missing? Mickey van der Ven is the only Tottenham player left at Euro 2024 after the Netherlands eliminated Turkey. Christian Romero and Giovanni Lo Celso are still involved in Argentina's bid to retain the Copa America, while Rodrigo Bentancur has helped Uruguay reach the last four. Everybody involved in a tournament this summer will be granted extra time off before returning to training. It means that key squad members might miss their tour to Japan and South Korea at the end of July. West Ham. Dagenham Redbridge will be West Ham's first pre-season opponents. Lopetegui's squad will face their non-league opponents on July the 20th at the Chigwell Stadium, where the West Ham women play their matches. The Hammers will then travel to the States for the Sunshine State Tour, where they will face Wolves in Jacksonville on July the 27th and Crystal Palace in Tampa a week later. On August the 10th, they will welcome Celta Vigo to the London Stadium. When are they back? Head coach Lopetegui had his first interaction with his West Ham players when they reported for pre-season training on July the 3rd. And who will be missing? Jared Bowen, Lucas Paqueta, Alphonse Areola and Miguel Antonio are all on international duty and will miss the start of pre-season training. Thomas Souček and Vlad Kuval will be given time off following the Czech Republic's exit at the group stages of the Euros. And finally, Wolves. A tour of the US East Coast in late July will be the centrepiece of their preparations. Wolves are set to take on Crystal Palace and West Ham, the latter now managed by former Wolves boss Lopetegui. Wolves will also face RB Leipzig, with that match taking place back in Florida. They are also planning a week in Spain shortly after they report back for training at the start of July, but that trip is not expected to feature any official games. However, they do face Spanish opposition on August the 10th, with Rayo Vallecano visiting Molineux. When are they back? Wolves' players will begin to filter back into training later this week. Those who have not been in international action are due back for physical testing before their squad depart next week for a 10-day camp in Spain. Who will be missing? With several players still in action at the Euros and Copa America, Portugal trio Pedro Neto, Jose Sá, Nelson Semedo, as well as Brazil's João Gomes, O'Neill's squad will reassemble in stages over the next few weeks. So there we go. That is your guide to pre-season. Hopefully this video has been informative for you guys, and if you have enjoyed this video, please leave a like, consider subscribing,